4 päivän työmatka länsi-afrikkalaiseen sotilasdiktatuuriin Guineaan muuttui 100 päivän helvetiksi, kun Richard Perhamia syytettiin ensin vakoilusta ja hänet suljettiin sitten yhteen maailman vaarallisimmista vankiloista. Richard Perham on naimisissa suomalaisen naisen kanssa ja asuu kampissa. Hän oli Guineassa etsimässä kadonneen tutkimusilmapallon laitteistoa. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you.
So this happened last year in January when you got arrested in Guinea. So Richard, tell us where did this all started and where did it go wrong?
Sure. So I took the job in good faith, travelled to Guinea, and we started working, and very quickly it became obvious that something was really wrong.
Yeah.
We travelled to the site where the stratospheric balloon had landed. We were searching for where we'd been given the coordinates for, and before we knew it, driving through one of the villages, we saw a gendarmerie officer, and that was where it all started to go wrong.
Well, can you take us to the moment where you were arrested? What happened?
Sure. So very shortly after that, we were being escorted to the local station, and without any warning, we were just surrounded by trucks and taken out of our vehicle and put into gendarmerie vehicles.
Why were you arrested? What was the reason?
Sure. So we were there understanding we had the correct permission to work in the country. It turns out we didn't.
Okay.
The company we were working for hadn't obtained the correct permissions for us to be there working.
So you were accused of spying at espionage?
We were, which of course are really serious. They carry really serious sentences. One of them even carrying capital punishment.
So were you scared that you will get death penalty?
That's a difficult question.
Yeah.
It was in the back of our minds always.
Yeah.
But we had to focus on what was going to keep us going through every day, and that was the hope that we would get out of this prison.
So you ended up in prison in Conakry, which is the capital city of Guinea,
Yeah, that's right.
which is operating at 475% capacity. So it's really, really overcrowded. So can you describe the prison?
Sure. So the prison itself is broken into 3 major parts, and where you go depends on your status and how much money that you're able to pay into the system there. The 3 parts are divided by sort of space, privilege and crowdedness. Mm-hmm. So we actually spent time in all 3 parts of the prison. At its worst, it is so crowded that you cannot lie down to sleep. There's about...
What do you mean? How do you sleep then?
You must sleep sitting up.
Sitting up?
Yeah. So these particular rooms in this part of the prison is perhaps 20 by 30 metres, and there's maybe 150 to 200 people in there.
Ooh. So what was the first night? Tell us about the first night when you went to the prison. What was the first reaction?
Sure. So, I mean, the first moment that it was the turning point, let's say, was after a day sat in the courtroom waiting for a verdict, which we thought would be best case, we go straight home.
Yeah.
Most likely case, we say they admit us to a hotel. Over the time that they would figure the case out. Worst case, something really bad would happen. But the worst case was just there as a precautionary, you know.
Yeah.
We get to the end of the day, we come out of the courthouse, and the news is delivered to us. And that one sentence, I'm sorry, it hasn't gone well. They're taking you to prison.
Yeah.
Just totally flipped the whole situation from sort of absolute certainty that we thought we'd be going home to absolute uncertainty. The night that followed involved getting thrown into a beaten up, dusty van, driven at sort of breakneck speed with the sirens on straight to the prison, And then we left the van, went straight in, and we were organised into our cell.
So tell us about the cell. What was the cell like?
So we were assigned to a good cell and a safe chief. The prison operates with the guards and a prisoner hierarchy within the prison. And each cell will have a chief who looks after the inmates in there and the sort of the affairs inside. So once we were assigned, we were taken to this one cell that was sort of deep into the prison. It was all quiet. Outside, it was about 8 o'clock. We're guided through the darkness, and we arrive at this door. They open the door, and the room itself was about 20 metres by 10 metres, and there were about 30 people in there. There was not an inch of space on the floor that didn't have a mattress on it. So we were like, wow, like, okay. I've never seen anything like this before. Yeah. But the chief took us to the corner onto his mattress, actually. And then from that point, that was our sort of island of safety.
Whew. Yeah. And what did the normal day in prison look like? Sure.
So when we had settled and in our final cell, I would wake up between 6 and 6:30 and just lie in bed waiting for the doors to open. I'd lie there thinking about my family, my daughter, my partner, and then at about 7:30 to 7:45, depending on the day, you'd see a crack open in the door. And as soon as that happened, Paul and I were like straight up, roll the bed away, walk straight out the door, leave everyone sleeping in there. I would grab an orange, eat my orange, and then go straight to exercise. I would exercise in a small alleyway for about an hour, come back, shower, have breakfast, and then there's more people outside. So we would spend the rest of the day outside. Mm. I would sort of study French, read books once I'd received them from home. And at about 4 o'clock, we would then be shut back in the cell for the night. Mm. Yeah.
How were the other inmates? Did they have like gangs or drugs or guns there? Did you say anything like that?
Sure. So as I said earlier, the whole system inside is run by a prisoner hierarchy, yeah. Which is effectively a gang running the internal affairs. They decide sort of where you sleep, the protection you have, and where you're allowed to move to. So, and then inside each cell there is a chief who manages the more immediate affairs. Mm. Yeah.
So, did you see any violence, or did you experience any violence?
So, our own experience, fortunately, we didn't experience much. We had.
But you were threatened with like physical and sexual violence.
Yeah, we had been threatened with serious violence. And
what happened?
This was actually one of the lowest points of the whole experience. We were sitting in the couloir, which is the most crowded part of the prison, and it was only our first day in there. We were sort of set on, well, we were terrified, but also set on finding a way to get out of this place. Mm. I could not see sort of how I would survive in here. So we were set on getting out. But during that time, yeah, we had someone come up to us and basically threaten us with sexual and physical violence. And that threat was, for me, that was as good as sort of like it's happening at that point. So yeah. I started mentally preparing myself, yeah.
What did he do? Did he have like weapon or just verbally?
So at that point, it was just verbal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were also extorted. How did it happen? What happened?
Sure. So the prison runs with this hierarchy.
Yeah.
And everyone that comes into the prison must pay a certain amount, first to the prison guards, and then second to the hierarchy that's within the prison. the first fee to the guards will secure your place in the prison, and then your fee to the prisoner hierarchy, that will decide where you sleep in the cell and how much protection you've got. Essentially, it's a protection racket.
So how was the hygiene there? You said you had shower.
Sure.
Was the water clean?
The water itself, no. You know, we could see where it was coming from. It was this tower, this rusty water tower with sort of a stream of like algae and goo growing on the side.
Oh.
So the water itself that you're showering with, you could not drink it. And even showering with it, we had to disinfect ourselves after.
Really?
Yeah. So hygiene was one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah.
You know, staying clean, staying free from illness. There were people in the cell catching malaria.
Mosquitoes.
So, yeah, plenty of mosquitoes.
Rats.
Rats. Yeah, we had our share of them.
And cockroaches.
There were cockroaches at points. Yeah.
Nice.
And you know they're not so nice because you can't stop them.
Yeah. So when you're sleeping at night, there are rats around you and those animals.
Yeah, most of the time they give you enough space. They run through the rafters, but you know they drop through and run over everyone. So.
Were you able to contact your family members?
So this at points, yes. During the beginning, we didn't have any contact with the family. Phones were confiscated, and once we went to the main prison, phones we found were difficult to get hold of, and they were secret.
Yeah.
So any calls we managed to make had to be essential, and they were on someone's secret phone. By the end, once we were more established there, we had managed to sort of foster a rapport with certain guards, and we were allowed to use a phone that we sort of paid for and used.
What was the most difficult part for you?
I think that is a good question. There was a really difficult, the most difficult part of the whole experience, I think, was one day with the day we'd been waiting for months, had finally come. We saw our lawyer come through the door with the papers, our release papers, and you know we couldn't help it. We just got a bit excited, and we packed our things and we signed out of the prison. We started making our way out of the prison, only to be turned around at the gate. And after that was the most crushing and emotionally difficult experience of the whole period. You
thought you were released, but then they sent you back.
Yeah, with no explanation. And it was a Friday evening. We knew we would have at least the weekend before we could talk to lawyers and get any answer as to why. Yeah. So,
were you scared you would die?
I was scared that I would spend the rest of my life in the prison. Yeah. There were points that did creep in. Through that whole time, I was conscious that I must maintain two perspectives, though. There's one reality that's in my head that is living in the solution, and that's the positive sort of like I've got control over my internal world, and I can make it through this. I can get through. I can survive for as long as it takes. And there's the other reality that is, what if we spend the rest of our life in here? What's worse, like being here at all, or spending the time, basically being alive or spending the time here? Like what's worse? Yeah.
So what helped you to survive mentally?
Sure. So it was important to maintain hope all throughout, and hope didn't just come. It was something that I had to work on every single day. It was goal setting. It was keeping. It was maintaining sort of.
focus, and you're also in a good shape physically. You do exercise.
Exactly. So part of my daily goals were all based around sort of simply achievement, growth, and connection.
Yeah.
If that was sort of, if I can achieve, if I can get those in a day, I know I'm going to keep myself afloat as well. So exercise would be achievement, growth would be studying French if I could, connection. In the sort of one of the world's most overcrowded prisons, you think you just want to go inside yourself and get some of your own space.
Yeah.
But actually, I realised connection was going to be a major part in keeping me afloat. So I had a group of people that I felt more comfortable with, and I connected with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how were you finally released? Tell us how did they get you out?
Sure. So there was the release from the prison, which came on April 10th. You know, that was over 4 months into our stay there. At that point, we had learned to keep our excitement low. You know, as we had learned to keep sort of fear or anger low. It was something we had to manage, not enjoy the excitement. We were released. We took our things in 2 big blue plastic bags that you could buy within the prison, and we held our papers in one hand, and we walked out with our lawyers into just silence. We walked out into the courtyard down the road, and then we were escorted to the British Embassy, where we were sort of able to finally relax.
Yeah.
Walking into the room, the sort of the front room, like the living room in a way, in the British Embassy was just really surreal. You know, there were.
And you were able to talk to your wife and see your baby daughter.
We were. Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was. That was still over the phone because there was another month and a half until we were actually released from the country.
Yeah.
And yeah, that moment, getting on the plane on my birthday, having a glass of champagne
birthday.
on my 30th birthday, and then running through Heathrow to the arrival gates and seeing my wife and my daughter.
How are you coping now? How has this changed to you, this experience?
Sure. So yeah, you don't come back the same person.
No.
And this last year has been about recovery and reconnecting, and Finland's been the perfect place to do that.
Yeah.
It's the complete opposite to Guinea. I've got certainty here, stability.
Yeah.
I was able to find an excellent therapist close by who specialises in exactly what I need.
Yeah.
And just knowing that the system works here just gives me the certainty I need. Even things like daycare, knowing that my daughter's going to be able to go to a good daycare system.
Yeah. Richard, thank you so much. Incredible story. Thank you for coming to my show.
Thank you. Great to meet you.